Shalom, shalom. What's up, world? What's up, tribe? You already know what it is, how we're doing it, what we're doing. You already know what's going on. Shalom to the tribe. Right now, we looking at the province of Carolina. Now, the province of Carolina, it looked like it was the whole dirty South. So we're just gonna read into it. You know what I mean? Uh, just listen to it. We're gonna read into it. You know what I mean? This article is about the British province that existed from 1663 to 1712. For other you see Carolina, whatever, right? The province of Carolina. Province of Carolina was a province of England, 1663 to 1707, and Great Britain, 1707 to 1712, that existed in North America and the Caribbean from 1663 until partitioned into North and South on January the 24th of 1712. So that's when they made the split between North and South Carolina. It is part of present day Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and the Bahamas. So what gets me about this is like, where is Florida and Virginia? So basically, around this time period, 63, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, mainly the dirty South, would be known as the province of Carolina, besides Florida and I don't see Virginia. So just have me thinking here. The etymology: Carolina is taken from the Latin word for Charles, Carlus. Carlos. Carlos is the medieval Latin form of the name Charles, notably the name of Charlemagne, honoring King Charles the First. King Charles the First was a king of England, Scotland, and Ireland from March 27 to 1625 until his execution in 1649. Blah blah blah, and was first named in the 1663 Royal Charter, granting to Edward, Earl of Clarendon, George, Duke of Albemarle, William, so-called Lord Craven, John, so-called Lord Berkeley, so-called Lord Ashley, Sir George Carteret, Sir William Berkeley, and John Colleton, the right to settle lands in the present-day United States of North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. Okay, so they did include Florida. So what we're looking at right here is basically, when you see like South Carolina, we have Berkeley County. So you know Berkeley County, you must know Sir William Berkeley. He was the so-called Lord Proprietor over that area. Walterboro, Sir John Colleton, he colonized that area. Ashley, we have Ashley County also. He organized that county. So we got to understand how did they get their names, and they got their names from each person that settled there and colonized it. So let's just say if I was a colonizer and they send me to Carolina to colonize it. So let's just say if I want to colonize the Low Country, I'll name it Chief Fatali or whatever. So boom, you'll know that I colonized it. Same thing what they doing. So this is what we're looking at. We looking at the colonizers. We must understand, how did they get colonized? How did that happen? Whatever. So just listen. Keep on going. The background, main articles, wrote note. Colony, Carolina, and Merle settlements. See also, y'all see all of this: Spanish Florida, French Florida, San Miguel de Guadalupe, Charles Fort, Santa Elena, Spanish assault on French Florida, and Santa Elena, Florida. On October 30th, 1629, King Charles I of England granted a patent to Sir Robert Heath. So King Charles, he gave a patent to Robert Heath for the land south of 36 degrees and north of 31 degrees under the name in honor of that king of Carolina. Let's look at Carolina. The early province of Carolina was the land forming the southern English colonies spanning from 31 to 36 degrees north latitude. In 1629, King Charles I of England granted the territory to his Attorney General, Sir Robert Heath. So this is what I want y'all to understand. So-called King Charles, a dude from England who ain't got nothing to do with our lands over here, he granted our lands to somebody else. So we must understand we are still in those conditions till today. We are still in those conditions because who granted King Charles this land? The Most High God, Yahawah, gave us this land. So we must understand that our land have been stolen. If the Most High God didn't give it to King Charles, he have no right to disperse our land to anyone. So this is how they was doing back in the day. I'm gonna continue. Carlus is Latin for Charles. Heath wanted the land for French Huguenots. So this is what Tremi will be talking about when you talk about the French Huguenots. So basically, Heath, the governor, he wanted the land for the French Huguenots. But when Charles restricted use of the land to members of the Church of England, Heath assigned his grant to George, so-called Lord Berkeley. King Charles I was executed in 1649, and Heath fled to France, where he died. Following the 1660 restoration of the monarchy, Robert Heath's heirs attempted to reassert their claim to the land, but Charles II ruled the claim invalid. So you see that Robert Heath, after he fled back to France. And after that, his heirs attempted to reassert the claim to the land. But after the second King Charles, he ruled them as invalid. Even though he couldn't rule them valid as though it's none of their land, is what I'm trying to get to the point to everybody. This is not their lands. They just basically say, hey, we're gonna start doing what we want to do. And real quick, I'm gonna pause on this right here. Y'all see these dates, right? Like 1629, and this was happening like the 1600s. So if we go here, this is the Tamida, the Tamahida. This is like a part of the Gullah Geechees right here. This I believe this is like in Florida right here. This word right here. But my point that I'm trying to make is in 1663, the Virginia, basically around this time period, it was still Indians here. We were still doing our thing. We were still here doing our thing. I'm going to read this real quick. In 1673, the Virginia pioneer Abraham Wood sent two white men, James Needham and Gabriel Arthur, the later probably an indentured servant, in company with 8 Indians to explore Western Virginia up to and beyond the mountains. They were turned back at first by misfortune and unwillingness of ye Indians before the mountains that they should discover beyond them. But May 17, they were sent out again, and on June 25th, they met some Tamahitians, Tamahitans on their way from the mountains to Oconee. So basically, y'all see that the Indians, they still was in effect, you know what I mean? And you see right here where he mentioned Gabriel Arthur, the later probably an indentured servant. So we got to understand that it around this time in 1673, it was indentured servants. It wasn't the word so much of a slave. That's what it kind of became, kind of. So I just want y'all to know kind of what's going on with these time frames and where we at, what time we in. Um, 1 second. Where was I? Yeah, right here. Although the lost colony of Roanoke was the first English attempt at settlement in the Carolina Territory. The first permanent English settlement was not established until 1653, when immigrants from the Virginia colony with others from New England and Bermuda settled at the mouths of the Chowan and Roanoke rivers on the shores of Albemarle or whatever sound in the northeastern corner of present-day North Carolina. The Albemarle, let me get that right. Albemarle? The Albemarle or the Albemarle settlements proceeding the royal charter by 10 years came to be known in Virginia as Rogue's Harbor. By 1664, the region was organized as Albemarle County or whatever. Within 3 generations of Columbus, the Spanish from their Florida base had started to immigrate up to the coast of Martin, North Carolina. A hostile Virginia tribe drove them back to Georgia. That most likely that was my band right there. I'm pretty sure. I read that plenty times. Most likely that was the Westos or the Chiskas or the Uchis. A Scottish contingent had meanwhile settled in South Carolina, only to be extirpated by the Spanish, who inhabited Paris Island as late as 1655. The Spanish were again beaten back to Georgia. So they was beaten back to Georgia. We'll get this charger. On March 24th, 1663, Charles II issued a new charter to a group of 8 English noblemen, granting them the land of Carolina as a reward for their faithful support of his efforts to regain the throne of England. This ain't his land to give away. And if nobody is going to speak on it, we must start speaking on it. This is not his land to give away. So we need our own proprietors. We need our own people to go and make our settlements and do what we have to do. Whatever it takes, what we got to do. I don't care what we got to do, but we got to start making progress towards getting our lands back. Because if we don't, we will still be oppressed. We are getting taxed on our land. Every even down to the mail. Shout out to Sister Yahira. Yes, Yahira Yada. She put me on to something also when it comes to the mailing situation. When we mail our mail, that money goes to the so-called Queen of England, of Britain. So we are, everything that we do, we are giving away everything to the other nations, to the other people. And we don't even, to the point we've been so blind washed, we don't even know it. Even when you're sending off mail, your mail, if you don't put if you don't put on that mail a certain way, certain format, then you're paying your condolences to the Queen of England. And we need to literally stop paying that. We need to literally stop. That is not our government. Well, for our people, that is not our government. So we must stand on our government. We must stand on our nation. The Most High God, He gave us a nation, so we must use it, must utilize it, and stand on it. The fight won't be easy, but we must continue. So let me go ahead on. So he gave the 8 word called Lord Proprietors, or simply Proprietors. The 1663 charter granted the Lord's Proprietors title to all of the land from the southern border of the Virginia colony at 36 degrees north to 31 degrees north along the coast of present-day Georgia. The king intended for the newly created province to serve as an English bulwark to contest lands claimed by Spanish Florida and prevent their northward expansion. Well, King Charles, we claiming this back. You feel what I'm saying? We must claim this back. And we only could claim this back with the ones who truly understand it. If you lost in America, you're lost in Babylon. I'm not talking to you. You could go, I'm not, to the ones who we understand where we are, we must start claiming this land back. And how do we do that? How do we claim the land back? We got to start individually with our tribal members. That's how we do it. We must start individually. Right now, United States, they own the land because of the jurisdiction matter when it comes to territory, when it comes to citizenship. So we must understand the people are the ones who truly own the land. Well, the land owns the real indigenous people, to be exact. But I want to get at that this land we must claim. They came and invaded our land and said, hey, I'm gonna give Tom this land. I'm gonna give Billy this land. And I'm gonna give James this land. It don't work like that. It does not work like that. So I'm gonna continue where we at. Okay. The so-called Lord's Proprietors named in the charter were Edward Hyde, first Earl of Clarendon, George Monk, first Duke of Albemarle or whoever, William Craven, first Earl of Craven, John Berkeley, first Baron Berkeley of Stratton. Man, all of these fake, Anthony Ashley Cooper. And another thing, I know some Coopers. I know some of these last names. Some of these might be y'all people. But at the end of the day, if your people were a colonizer, it's not about that. It's either do you want to stand on righteousness or you want to stand on the evil stuff. So if you want to stand on the evil stuff, yeah, you're gonna go against the truth. If you're gonna stand on this truth, go with the truth. Truth is truth. Can't knock the truth. Brother of John and Sir John on the 8th, one who demonstrated, okay, let me start. Of the 8, the one who demonstrated the most active interest in Carolina was Lord Shafe's, so-called Lord Shaftesbury. Shaftesbury, with the assistance of his secretary, the philosopher John Locke, drafted the grand model for the province of Carolina, which included the fundamental constitutions of Carolina, a plan for government of the colony heavily influenced by uh, by the ideas of the English scientist James Harrington. Some of the other Lords Proprietors also had interest in other colonies. For instance, John Berkeley and George Carter had held stakes in the province of New Jersey. They just come in over here and just say, hey, I got interest in this land. It wasn't like they came over with money and say, hey, we're going to buy it from the rightful owners. Some of them did. But they came over here like, yo, we coming to take this land. We're going to have to take that land. The Indians ain't over there right now. Let's take that over. And this is what I want everybody to see. They did not have this permission from the Most High God. In the kind of a way they did, because we lost our way to the Most High God, he said that we will be, our land will be trodden and oppressed. So yes, they did have some kind of degree of basically of what they was doing. They did have some kind of right, but those rights are up. They still did it out of their own recognition. You know what I mean? Province of New Jersey. And William Berkeley had an interest in Virginia. So it's like, okay, since he had an interest in Virginia, me, Chief Atali, I have an interest in the entirely Southeast. I have an interest from Texas on up past Virginia to Philadelphia, because I know the Uchis were all in this area. So I have an interest also. So what I want to do is we want to basically go after our lands in any kind of way we want, in any kind of way we please, in any kind of way we need to. But we must go after our lands. We must go after our lands. And we have basically we're going through a situation now. A lawyer stated that it was how do you say it? Something possession, when you basically adverse possession. See, we are the Indians. There's no way we can do an adverse possession. You only could adverse possess if you move into someone else's property. But this land is our land, so we can't transgress against our own land. We are on our land, but we must start taking control of our lands. We can't wait on our enemies to give us our land back or to give us our nationality back, because we must understand our enemies put us in this situation to take our land. So if they put us in this situation, why would you think they would help us in any kind of way? I have a lot of members asking about food stamps, everything, like little stuff like that. They don't really understand that we can't really depend on their food stamps. We have to get our own system and our own food stamps. We must get everything on our own, even down to our license plates. They're still battling us with the license plates. But we still are making that fight. We must continue to fight. We just can't lay down. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. The Lord Proprietors operating under their royal charter. See, they're operating, you see that? They're operating under their royal charter. Their royal charter. Their royal charter. Y'all understand that? They're operating under their royal charter. Were able to exercise their authority with nearly the independence of the king himself. The actual government consisted of a governor, a powerful council, on which half of the councillors were appointed by the Lord's proprietors themselves, and relatively weak, popularly elected assembly. So they elected them people themselves. We have us a tribal council. We must do more. If you listening to this video, if you a part of our tribe, if you got the education and the knowledge and the wisdom, reach out and let's see what we could do. Because we must keep going forward. We're not going to turn left. We're not going to turn right. We're just going to keep going forward. Even if we got somebody on the sideline yelling at us, trying to get our head off the game, must move forward. We must move forward. So we must understand this. So the Lord's proprietors operating under their royal charter were able to exercise their authority with nearly the independence of the king himself. So what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, right there, that line that is highlighted, they were able to exercise their authority with their charter themselves. Let me show y'all. We have our own charter also. The tribal members know that. Uchi Kuso Muskogee Tribal Trust Charter. We have our own charter also. And that's how we are exercising our authority through our charter also. But we must understand our tribal trust charter. This is the same thing that they did, except we actually have the rights to the land. They never had any rights to the land. They just had a trust, they had a charter, and then they came over to the land and say, hey, we're going to do this thing here. That's how we're going to do it. But in all reality, we, as the so-called Indians, the Aborigines, the Aboriginals, we have all rights to do what we're doing. All rights. Even though they will not like it. That's the same way like the police. I don't like the police. I don't like them. They started off as slave catchers. But do I have to respect them? Yeah, I do. Why? Because they are the rulers of the land for the moment. They are authority at the moment. But their rulership is falling. So we must understand this. So I want everybody to understand, if you are a part of our tribe, if you have any insights on running a government or any positions that you know you are good with, reach out to us, please. Please, because we understand we need the people. The government can only go but so far. Without the people, it's no government. Point blank. It ain't nothing. So we understand we need our people, our nation of people, to help us with this government. And I also see the Moorish Science Templars, they are creating a government also. They discussing their government. And that's cool also. Whatever it takes. But I know our government, it was formed through the Most High God Yahawah. So we don't have a choice but to keep on going. We didn't form this ourselves. We just a tool to the forming. We're just a tool. So we must run this the correct way. The actual government consisted of a governor, a powerful council on which half of the councillors were appointed by the Lord's proprietors themselves, and relatively weak. Popularly elected assembly. That relatively weak. See, we're not weak. We have the Most High God, so we're not weak. We just understand we need structure. We're just we need to structure it better. In 1663, Captain William Hilton had noted the presence of wooden cross erected by the Spaniards that still stood before the town meeting house of the Indians living at what became Port Royal. In 1665, Sir John Yeamans established a second short-lived English settlement on the Cape Fear River near present-day Wilmington, North Carolina, which he named Clarendon. Let me make sure I'm recording. I've already said all of this. Okay, we recording. In 1665, the charter was revised slightly. See Royal Colonial Boundary of 1665. You see that? The Royal, and you see that? They saying that they came over here and that's basically they royal boundary, like from King Charles. Boy, you is no king over here on these lands. With the northerly boundary extended to 36 degrees 30 minutes north to include the lands of settlers along the Albemarle Sound who had left the Virginia colony. Look at this. Likewise, the southern boundary was moved south to 29 degrees north, just south of present-day Daytona Beach, which had the effect of including the existing Spanish settlement at St. Augustine. The charter also granted all the land between these northerly and southerly bounds, from the Atlantic westward to the shores of the Pacific Ocean. So, to the Uchikuso, our chart, that's what our charter gonna grant to. We grant the whole entirely the Southeast. We grant that because we know our tribe was here in the Southeast. At least we're not trying to go after things we know our tribe wasn't. We're not trying to go in California, knowing our tribe wasn't in California. But that's like what them people over there did. They never had the rights to do what they did. They never had the real authority to do what they did. But like I say, they kind of did because why? We failed to serve our God. So he said they were trodden upon y'all land. And that's why we in this situation. Okay, the charter granted them all them lands. The Uchikuso charter is granting them the same lands too. This is crazy. The Lord's proprietors founded a sturdier new settlement when they sent 150 colonists to the province in early 1670, landing them at a location south of the other settlements, near present-day Charleston, South Carolina. In 1669, William Sal of Bermuda had taken over the command of the party of settlers gathered in Bermuda after Sir John Yeamans resigned while undergoing repairs of his vessel in Bermuda. Most of the party was made up of immigrants from England who had arrived in Bermuda en route to the establishment of the settlement in the Carolinas. Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Do you hear that? It's man, I don't think y'all understand. Most of the party was made up of immigrants who had arrived in Bermuda en route to the establishment of the settlement in the Carolinas. So why I highlighted that, because you got to understand, they came from England. They couldn't go straight to Carolina. If they could have, they would have. So that's how you know the ocean is. That's a fact, that the ocean moves with the current. So the current of the ocean from England, it only could have took them to the South America. No, well, to the not Slovakia, to like the Bermuda, the Caribbean's area. That's where it's gonna take you at. Sal arrived in Carolina aboard a Bermuda sloop with a number of Bermudian families to the town of Charleston. What is a Bermuda sloop? Bermuda sloop is a historical type of fore and aft ridge single master sailing vessel developed on the islands of Bermuda in the 17th century. In 1670, William Sal, then in his 80s, became the first colonial governor of the colony of Carolina. Many of the other colonists were planters from Barbados. The Charlestown settlement, as it was known then, developed more rapidly than the Albemarle and Cape Fear settlements due to the advantages of a natural harbor and expanding trade with the West Indies. So it's easier. It was a natural harbor from that, because basically the West Indies, basically all of that was Carolina province, the province of Carolina. From there, like up to Virginia, but they were saying that up to Charleston, South Carolina, was like a natural port, a natural trade harbor. Charlestown was made the principal seat of government for the entire province. Lord Shaftesbury specified its street plan. The nearby Ashley and Cooper rivers are named for him. You see that? After everything is, even Jasper County, the dude is named after a dude last name Jasper. Like these are not the true names. Due to their remoteness from each other, the northern and southern sections of the colony operated more or less independently until 1691, when Philip Ludwell was appointed governor of the entire province. From that time until 1708, the northern and southern settlements remained under one government. The North continued to have its own assembly and council. The governor resided in Charlestown and appointed a deputy governor for the North. During this period, the two halves of the province began increasingly to be known as North Carolina and South Carolina. So that's how that split was coming about. And also, with our government, if you, like I said, you know, you have that mind frame, please reach out to us or just leave us a message or something. We'll get back, because those are what we understand. If the Most High God, you working for Him, that's who we want. If you coming on to your own perceived notion and you just want to help, I'll say wait until the Most High God guides you, and then He'll guide you to wherever you need to be. Another thing, what we're not trying, but what we're doing is basically in each state is gonna be a task, and we're still trying to attack it. We're trying our best to set up assemblies in each state. We need assemblies setting up in each state. So if you're a tribal member, wherever you are, if you have people there with you, at least a 3 to a 4-man group, that's what we need to start our assemblies off with, at least. And like I say, we can't do it ourselves. So we need the help from the people. So if we don't get the help from the people, we just out of luck. So I'm gonna continue. In 1669, the fundamental constitutions of Carolina divided the colony of Carolina into two provinces: Albemarle province in the north and Clarendon province in the south, due to dissent over the governance of the colony and the distance between settlements in the northern half and settlements in the southern half. So they split it because it was just too far off. They tried to basically they're too greedy. They're trying to be too greedy, too greedy. So they had to chop it down. You know what I mean? They basically had to split the two. They was acting like they're basically divided. A house divided won't stand, basically. In 1691, a deputy governor was appointed to administer the northern half of Carolina, Albemarle province. In 1712, the two provinces became separate colonies. The colony of North Carolina, formerly Albemarle province, and the colony of South Carolina, formerly Clarendon province. Carolina was the first of three colonies in North America settled. Carolina was the first. See, that's why I say Carolina is really important. We must. Carolina was the first of three colonies in North Carolina. Salakia. Carolina was the first of three colonies in North America settled by the English to have a comprehensive plan, known to the Grand Model, Grand Model. It was composed of a constitution and detailed guidelines for settlement and development. The constitution, titled Fundamental Constitutions of Carolina, was drafted by the philosopher John Locke, under the direction of Anthony Ashley Cooper, later made Earl of Shaftesbury. From 1708 to 1710, due to disquiet over attempts to establish the Anglican Church in the province, the people were unable to agree on a slate of elected officials. Consequently, there was no recognized and legal government for more than 2 years, a period which culminated in Cary's rebellion, when the so-called Lord Proprietors finally commissioned a new governor. This circumstance, coupled with the Tuscarora War and the Yamasee War, and the inability of the Lord's Proprietors to act decisively, led to separate governments for North and South Carolina. So that's when they started splitting. Some take this period as the establishment of separate colonies, but that did not officially occur until 1729, when 7 of the Lord's Proprietors sold their interests in Carolina to the crown. See, so they sold their interest. It don't even make sense. How you gonna sell something that's not yours? Whatever. And both North Carolina and South Carolina became royal colonies. It been royal colonies because the royal people is here. Y'all gotta understand. They just moved there. Talking about royal colonies. This has been a royal colony because of the people. Even though we failed to serve our God, we royal people, but we must come back to our God. The eighth share was Sir George Carteret's, which had passed to his great grandson John Carteret II, Earl Granville. he retained ownership of a 60-mile wide strip of land in North Carolina adjoining the Virginia boundary, which became known as the Granville District. Boy, that's crazy right there. See, the reason why I say that's crazy because I know Hardyville, South Carolina, like this whole low country was called Granville. It was called Granville. So that it shows resemblance, is what I'm saying. This district was to become the scene of many disputes from 1729 until the American Revolutionary War, at which time it was seized by the North Carolina Revolutionary Government. Governments under propriety rule and under crown rule were similarly organized. The primary difference was who was to appoint the governing officials, the Lord Proprietors or the sovereign. You see? So I want y'all to see they just took it out of their own mind and said, hey, we gonna go and take this land, y'all. So if they had the strength to do that, we should have the strength to do it with our God. They ain't got nothing. They just did it off of what they think. We know we have the Most High God. So we have to jump out there and just do what we do. Can't be scared, fearless. So we must do the same not the same, but whatever it takes to get our land back. Although the division between the northern and southern governments became complete in 1712, both colonies remained in the hands of the same group of proprietors. A rebellion against the proprietors broke out in Charlestown, South Carolina, now spelled Charleston, in 1719, which led to the appointment of a royal governor for South Carolina in 1719. In 1729, North Carolina would become a royal colony. There you have it. You know what I mean? That's just a little something. But yeah, it's basically, yeah, you see what's going on. Preceded by southern part of the colonial Virginia. Yeah, y'all see what's going on. So yeah, we gotta start getting back to it. Can't be scared. We got YAHAWA. We gotta get to it. We gotta continue to fight. We must focus and keep on going. Just gotta keep on going. Don't get discouraged. Let's keep on going. Even if someone trying to make you get discouraged, just keep your eyes on the prize and let's keep on going. We can't be perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. All we could do is just do our best and serve him. So I'm going to say peace and shalom. You know what I mean? Shout out to the whole Southeast. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Mississippi. Shout out to Texas, South Carolina, you know, Charleston. You already know what it is. St. Helena. We shouting out the whole Southeast. These are our royal counties, our royal colonies. This is the land, parts of Judah land. This is one of our territories. Just one of our territories. So I'm going to say peace and shalom to the tribe. Shalom.